All right, let's just jump right into this explainer. Because today we're tackling something that literally every single one of us deals with. A frustrating, universal trap of the human mind. I mean, if you've ever felt like your brain is just totally spinning its wheels on an impossible problem, or you're constantly torn between two terrible choices, believe me, you are absolutely not alone. Today, we're going to explore the actual architecture of how we think, why we get so stuck, and most importantly, how we can finally break free.
So, to get started, the text presents a classic logical paradox, and it is definitely designed to instantly tie your brain into an absolute knot the second you try to force an answer. Ready? If God is all-powerful, can he create a rock so heavy he cannot lift it? Just sit with that for a second. It's kind of the ultimate brain breaker, right? And our immediate, gut-level instinct is to try and logic our way out of it.
But this brilliantly illustrates the inescapable trap of binary yes or no thinking. Because think about it. If you say yes, that he can create the rock, well then, he's not all-powerful because he can't lift it. But if you say no, he cannot create it, then he's still not all-powerful because he lacks the ability to create it in the first place. Either answer leads straight to an impossible, stressful contradiction. We literally get boxed in by the exact same logic we're trying to rely on.
Let's move into part 1, the trap of human language.
To figure out why we get stuck in these endless loops, the source text takes a hard look at how language itself actually traps us. You know, words are honestly just clumsy representations, but we totally forget that. We start treating abstract concepts, things like success or destiny, as if they're these concrete physical forces. There's this profound Zen saying the author references, "Name the colors, blind the eye." By constantly naming, categorizing, and defining everything, we chop up an undivided, flowing world into these tiny, rigid mental fragments. It's literally like trying to capture a flowing river in a bucket and then wondering why the water stops moving.
Which brings us to part 2, the wisdom of Mu.
Enter the concept of Mu. This is an ancient Zen term, and simply put, it means the answer is larger than the question. It's a real game changer because it forces us to realize that slapping a simple yes or no onto massively complex, spiritual, existential, or even just everyday realities is fundamentally flawed. The concept of Mu liberates us by revealing that the paradox itself, the actual question we are stressing over trying to answer, is structurally broken. You don't have to choose yes or no. You can just reject the premise of the question entirely. It's kind of like being asked if you want to be punched in the stomach or kicked in the shins. Mu is just stepping out of the way completely.
See, we constantly confuse our descriptive words with the vastness of actual existence. There's this classic Zen proverb from the text, "The finger that points at the moon is not the moon." We get so incredibly obsessed with studying the finger, our words, our rigid definitions, that we completely miss the glowing beauty of the moon in the night sky. We mistake the pointer for the actual destination.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is that when we hit a paradox, reality isn't broken. Rather, our flawed attempt to define it is what's broken. If your logic leads to an impossible contradiction, like that heavy rock paradox we started with, don't panic. The universe is completely fine. It's just your mental software glitching out because it's trying to process the infinite using finite, clumsy little words. The error is entirely in the framing.
All right, moving on to part 3. Maps are not territories.
The explainer outlines some common mental traps where we force constantly changing realities into rigid little boxes. First off, there's confusing the map with the territory. Then we have what's called time-binding errors, which is basically just failing to recognize that things change. Think about the famous ship of Theseus. If you replace every single wooden plank on a ship over time, is it even the same ship? We change exactly like that, yet our mental labels pretend we're completely static. And finally, there's either-or thinking. This is where we completely ignore nuance, force ourselves into these false choices, and just create a massive amount of unnecessary anxiety for ourselves.
Recognizing the difference between your mental map and the actual territory is super essential for escaping that illusion of control and actually finding some peace. The map consists of your mental representations, your words, labels, and symbols. And hey, it's totally useful for navigation, for sure. But the territory? The territory is the objective, fluid, undivided reality that those words are just trying to represent. You cannot live on the map. If you try to force the real world to perfectly match your neat little mental categories, you are setting yourself up for endless frustration.
And that leads us to our final section, Part 4, Embracing the Ineffable Mystery.
The text points out that demanding strict, logical definitions for spiritual concepts just completely misses the whole point. I mean, even modern science acknowledges that something like 95% of the universe is dark matter and energy. It's a literal mystery. So, trying to neatly define the deepest, most profound aspects of life really is a fool's errand. It's like trying to weigh a dream on a bathroom scale. You are just using the wrong tool for the job.
The author actually uses this really beautiful analogy to contrast our intellectual need to dissect the universe with our spiritual need to just experience it. You can explain a rainbow by breaking down the physics of light refraction and human sensory processing. And that's fine, that's the map. But seeing a rainbow, actually experiencing its incredible subjective beauty, that is the territory. Both are valid, but only one actually touches your soul and brings genuine meaning to your life.
By really embracing Mu, we can stop trying to logic our way out of every single one of life's struggles. And instead, we can just participate directly in the mystery of existence. Authentic experience has value all on its own, completely without reference to external, logical attributes. It is valuable simply because it is. You don't need a spreadsheet to prove why joy feels good, or why a sunset is absolutely breathtaking. You just need to be present for it. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, profound thought from the text to help you step away from those binary traps and start truly living. Ask yourself, do you want scientists to explain rainbows to you, or would you rather look up at the sky and see one yourself? The next time you find yourself stuck in an endless mental loop or staring down a forced choice, just remember the wisdom of Mu. The answer is larger than the question. Stop staring at the finger and go look at the moon.